we are starting your ear off right. That's right, this is Vinyl Happy Hour, Season 4, and I'm Skylar Davis, owner of Culture Shock Clothing and Records here in Rockford, Illinois. Huge vinyl enthusiast and love bringing you the indie exclusives and special commentary and packaging details on our episode that we do a little video on every single week. To keep you updated, I'm just going to do a little addition. Usually I kind of go over like the top 5, my top 5 releases for the week. I do want to just quickly mention Start Your Ear Off Right is this kind of exclusive package deal of different albums that usually get reissued or special packaging from Rhino Records every year, and it's usually a lot of classics. Every week in January there's different releases coming out. So we already got the Cars on color vinyl, the Talking Heads, Billy Joe, and a few others. But what's really interesting is one of the best guitarists of all time, and this guy always makes it on the top 10, top 20 list usually of all guitarists, is Mark Knopfler of Dire Straits. And their albums are classic. What's really interesting about the band is they didn't have a very long discography considering what great musicians they are. But Rhino is doing this and they're calling it the like brick and mortar exclusive. So these are the 180 gram special, remastered editions of all 6 of their albums. So I'm just going to show them off real quick. These are all 180 gram and brick and mortar exclusive. So even though some of the Rhino releases are available to web chain stores, things like that, these are only at brick and mortar record stores. There's your second album, Communard. I'm just going to show you real quick, Making Movies. That's the Making Movies is their 3rd album, like right in the middle. That's probably my favorite one too. There you go. What's this one again? Oh yeah, Love Over Gold. One of probably almost the most well-known, probably Brothers in Arms also. So the first 4 are all single LPs. Their final 2 are double LPs. What's really cool about the band, I think, is that they kind of went out on top. Like, they could have been making albums still. Their last album, On Every Street, I believe this was 91, a very rough year on vinyl. So what's really interesting about their final album is that I've never seen it on vinyl, and I think it's over $100 if you can find it. So that's finally been reissued. Plus, even those others, even though it's pretty common to find used copies, how often are you going to find a mint condition copy? So if you've been thinking about getting this whole discography, now's the time to grab. All 6 of them are available. We're also going to link all the different Start Your Ear Off Right exclusives that are on our website at cultureshockshop.com. So in this YouTube video, there's a special link for those special releases. Now I'm going to talk about some of our other releases, some of my top picks here for the week. And there's a spot in our staff picks where you can find some of our picks of the week. I'm going to start off with 5 albums here though. But I'm going to start off with 2 different albums that are indie store exclusives. So these versions are only available to independent record stores like Culture Shock. Pop Smoke, this is a double LP on clear vinyl. Sadly, this dude died. He was shot down. I think he was only 20 years old. He never got to see the release of his debut album even. So this is Shoot for the Moon, Aim for the Star. Shoot for the Stars, Aim for the Moon, and double LP. There's a picture of Pop Smoke on the inner gatefold. This really hits great. I mean, this gives me that, he's got that kind of lower gravelly voice. He's not as like some of these other kind of modern rappers and stuff using a lot of that like pitch control and stuff like that. I definitely, from the beginning, heard a little bit of like almost like a hearing 50 Cent again for some reason, and it makes sense that that's like a mentor of his. And 50 Cent did produce this album actually. So that makes a lot of sense to me. It's a good album. It's got a good beat to it, good vocals. You get an appearance from Lil Baby. You even get 50 Cent, the man himself, on one of the tracks. What's also really cool is Dior is on this as a bonus, which was on his earlier mixtapes. So Pop Smoke came out hot and did have 2 different mixtapes that dropped before his proper full-length album. Those both sound great too, and I love the songs on those. But this one, the production and hearing everything as a full extended album, if you just wanted more than what the mixtape offered, this is it. So RIP to that dude, and of course, a great album though, a good legacy to live on by with him. I have another one of my favorite artists who has an indie store exclusive out right now. This is Jeff Tweedy's new album, Love is the King. Of course, Jeff Tweedy of Wilco. This was kind of a surprise release. I think it dropped streaming here a while ago, a month or 2 ago, I'm not sure when. But I really wanted to play it, put it on the record player, and take it all in. I did secretly stream a couple tracks just because I wanted to hear a little bit of it first. But then I got the album, and hearing the album is just the way to go. This is on clear vinyl. The packaging is cool, and he's an artist all the way through. So he actually designed the packaging for this in the clear vinyl. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but this is like Die Cut Punch. Love is the King is the name of the album. So you can actually feel the texture of it. Those are all like little die cut punches. So it's not printed on the jacket. It's actually punched holes through the jacket. Somehow they machined that or lined that up to do that. So he's always got really interesting ideas for the packaging on the deluxe editions of different Wilco and Jeff Tweedy's solo albums. I was excited to show it to my wife, Lauren. We were just listening to it a little while ago and caught her off guard a little bit because she didn't know he had a new album out either. It's been so fresh, and we were getting a lot of hints of like some Conor Oberst and some of those other really good folk artists and stuff like that. Opaline is my favorite one so far, but on this Gwendolyn song, on the A side is probably the strongest side. I like it, the whole album though, and it mellows out. It's probably one of his like more kind of downer quarantine albums. I think a lot of these artists have been able to put together and do some writing during this. But what was weird is kind of some weird strings coming on Gwendolyn. It gave me a little ELO vibe. Like I wasn't expecting that kind of electric light orchestra feel. Or Jeff Lynne even, maybe. Oh, good album. Sadly, it's possibly very limited and may be hard to get. We've only got a couple left. Get them while you can. That is a thing about some of these indie exclusives and special releases. Who knows? Hey, I'm starting my year off light with some lighthearted spirits. I do have to show off my Terramana, the Reposado Tequila. Really good, actually. Cheers on that one. That was a gift from my father-in-law. Thank you, Marty. I thought I knew what it was. He brought it. I've never had it before. And it's Dwayne The Rock Johnson's tequila company, I guess. So that's why I've heard of it. So it's really good. Nothing too smoky, too peppery even. I mean, they use bourbon barrels to age the tequila in to give it that flavor. So, all right, guys, I'm taking a different direction. This is heavy. It's brutal in a way, but it's also got a good new metal flavor. Not even new metal, just an electronic pop mix to the metal. From Bring Me the Horizon, I was definitely getting some happy Linkin Park vibes listening to this album. Cool artwork, very different, very minimal. This is post-human survival horror. Nothing super special about the packaging. Cool artwork, a single LP. It's a very short album. I read someone said this is like music for fast food culture or something like that, and I kind of agree. It is. We want something quick, we want it heavy, we want it over, we want to move on to the next thing. So I don't need extra crap, extra filler, and they did not put any of that on their album. Bring Me the Horizon started out as more of a metalcore band. You know, many years. I think, God, they've been going over 15 years now, I think. They've changed their vibe. These last few albums have gotten more electronic, more pop rock and stuff like that. It's a great album, though. It's heavy. But the electronics and stuff like that mix in, also, it's just punchy. The bass, it's got like more like synthesized bass, not just the bass from the bass guitar and bass drums. But if you got good speakers, it's going to hit well. I think the only thing to really note about the packaging, other than the artwork, kind of interesting, especially now that we've made it through the election and made it through 2020 and some other stuff, I think post-human, ellipsis or whatever, survival horror is kind of an interesting name, interesting idea. Parasite Eve and Obey, which has a spot with Youngblood on it, actually, if you know who he is. But what was really weird about the packaging, the only thing I can note, there's no stickers or anything on the front to tell you who it is, but they had this little white circle. It came in a bag already, a poly sleeve or whatever, and it had a little white circle sticker to keep it sealed inside. So then you bust that open. It was very hard to open that little sticker, surprisingly. It's tough. But what's nice is it comes with its own sleeve already. We put all of our records in sleeves. I do think it's sometimes wasteful that things get shrink wrapped and then also put in sleeves. So I'd like to see more bands doing that, giving you a sleeve with it instead of using shrink wrap that you have to throw away. Okay, now we're going to go back. This is technically a new release, but a very old album. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not a video game guy at all. Even when computers were a thing, I was not into games that much. This is the Quake soundtrack, 90s soundtrack from Nine Inch Nails for a computer game. If you know what Quake is, I'm sure you probably do. I remember some geeks I knew back in the day playing that, but I didn't know much about it. But the music on this is awesome. This is almost like another lost Nine Inch Nails album. Nothing horribly interesting about the vinyl. It's a really nice, thick, great sound. Again, the bass response is really nice on this. This is a very dark, kind of eerie, ambient album of Nine Inch Nails music. No vocals or anything. It's just produced by Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails. What's interesting is now that Trent Reznor has done a lot of other soundtrack work and things I've noticed, it's always Trent Reznor or Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. doing the music, this is the only soundtrack that I can think of or other Nine Inch Nails music that is billed as a Nine Inch Nails release. I love to see these 90s computers on it. I believe this came out in 96, which would have been right after, like, Further Down the Spiral and Downward Spiral. So it's still at that meaty core of the more industrial, heavier Nine Inch Nails before they did more ambient stuff, things like that. But yeah, the artwork is cool because, you know, it's got all old school computers and stuff like that. So if you're a fan of old computer games or you remember playing this, I'm sure it's a flashback. First time ever on vinyl, though. So that's why I'm geeking out hard, because I have every Nine Inch Nails record pretty much. I'm a huge Trent Reznor Nine Inch Nails fan. And it's finally on vinyl. So Trent Reznor has personally mastered, he's going through and reissuing all the Nine Inch Nails albums, even overseeing the artwork, so things that were never made as an LP before don't have crappy pixelated artwork. It's very nice attention to detail. It's a really dark album too, but even the smell of it, it's got that like really fresh, papery cardboard smell to it, and it's really thick gatefold jacket. So super nice packaging. Last album I just want to mention, although there's so many albums that have been released already in this year, these are just a few of kind of my favorite picks I wanted to show off. This is Swans, Children of God. And it's kind of interesting because first time, it says it's the first time it's been issued on vinyl in centuries. I guess it's just meaning since last century. This came out in 87, I believe. But the artwork is double-sided, and there's crosses on it too. So I suppose if you invert the album artwork and you invert the cross as well, and then Michael, whatever his name is, the singer and writer of it, you know, he had been noted as very difficult to work with, and he had a vision for this band, and he took it there. The music on this is going to be very droning, very industrial, very noise-driven. Their earlier stuff was very heavy in a dark way. His voice is like this chanting monk, Tom Waits industrial noise. They had been crashing in New York, sleeping in vans, apartments, I guess touring with the early versions of Sonic Youth. But this album is a very interesting foray into the early Swans work. Double LP, a lot of music on here. Really nice packaging on it. Nothing super special about the vinyl. It's nice, thick, probably 180 gram vinyl. But it does have all the lyrics printed out. Every song on here probably comes in, it seems like, around 5 minutes, because just by the time you're in the groove of it, it's on to the next song. And then it changes up. A lot of this is very repetitive, very droning in a way. But yeah, it's a good, almost a meditative, but without being mellow. It's very meditative in a very aggressive way. Can you be meditative in an aggressive way? I'm not sure, but that's what I take from it. I also just recently watched a really cool documentary, I think on Amazon Prime, talking about Swan's career and how Michael's still been making music over the years and producing albums for other bands. So that was a really good look to the early years and seeing how this band kind of developed and seeing his, you know, take on different music and what's influenced the band over the years. So that's my talk for tonight. So thank you so much. I hope you watched last week's episode when we capped off season 3. I kind of talked about my top 10 or top 20 releases. We had some small vinyl awards where I mentioned some other genres of music and interesting packaging. There's, again, so much great vinyl coming out. Please stop into Culture Shock or hit up our website at cultureshockshop.com if you're interested in any of these releases or even want to pre-order upcoming releases. You can do that. But yeah, we will be on a journey here for another season of Vinyl Happy Hour. We've got a lot of fun ideas coming up too, and plenty of new releases to talk about too. We'll see you soon. Cheers.